Afternoon guys, Saturday afternoon after all my open homes are finished, and I wanted to do that video that I've been promising about what fig cuttings didn't make it. What cuttings did I plant this year using my foolproof cutting method that failed? And there wasn't that many of them. I think I've taken, gosh, some of them have only just hit the ground, but earlier in my video that I put together, I think I potted up around 12 to 20, I don't know, varieties of figs, and most of them came through fine. Most of them came through perfectly fine, in fact, but there were some that didn't, and I'll find them for you now. And we might start with one on the shelf just here because it's just caught my eye. This is a cutting that I took that was actually fine. It did well, it put on leaves and eventually got potted up into this big pot right before I went on a trip. So I went away for 4 days, and I had the cuttings in the little plastic cups, of which these size cups here, and I was a little bit worried that they wouldn't make it, so I potted them all up before I went. And this is one of those. This variety is called Vardika. So Vardika, it had put on some leaves beforehand, but then after being transplanted into this larger pot, it is kaput. It is done, it is gone, unfortunately. So I've got a pot now that I can reuse. Vardika, number one, which didn't take. Number two, in this little cup here, this is a variety called Blue Provence, or Adam's Pride. Now this one is one that's a little bit different to the one I just showed you. This one here, the cutting itself still looks fairly decent. It hasn't lost any weight or anything like that, hasn't started to shrivel. However, this is a cutting that had put on some roots. And I don't know if that camera is going to pick them up, but it had all of these roots running through here, and slowly and surely, even though I put on roots, and I made a video showing that this is an example of a cutting that can put on roots before it put on leaves, where the majority of my cuttings will actually put on leaves first. So for instance, this is the really expensive cutting from that other video, and you can see, if the lights are allowing us, that we have two buds forming on this. So we've got one bud here and one bud here starting to swell, and both of these buds are likely to pop with leaves. And that usually happens before roots are visible on the plants, at least in my experience. And I like to see leaves first, because once leaves start coming on the plants, the plant itself can start to develop some energy to kind of put that energy back into surviving. You can put it into root growth and all that sort of thing. But when it puts on roots, like this one did, and no leaves at all, no buds that are broken. There were buds on here. It wasn't a cutting that had no buds. It just puts off this roots. It uses its energy to grow the roots, and it's got no sunlight. There's no way it can photosynthesize the light in the tent and turn it into something useful. So Blue Provence, although it's not officially dead, is in my mind officially dead. Blue Provence, gone. This one was a sweetheart of mine. It's unfortunate that it didn't make it through. This was the Black Madeira. This is the one that I waited so long, and it finally put on some leaves, and you can see the remnants of the leaves on here. And just like the Vardika, after I potted it up, that was the end of it. So there's Vardika gone. Vardika, Blue Provence, and Black Madeira. This is a variety that I haven't fully given up on, but I think I've given up on. This is a variety called Deanna, and the stem, and I think there's too much light in here, so it's probably not showing up very well, but there's a bit of green still in the stem here. It hasn't shriveled yet. There's still buds up here that could potentially swell, but Deanna doesn't have any roots that I can see. It's been in this cup now for a very, very long time, and although it is not dead, and these other ones that I said are not dead are actually dead, this one here might come through. We'll see how it goes. Deanna. I do have another Deanna. Oh, if I can come up here. So this Deanna cutting was put in at the same time, and as you can see, this Deanna has good leaves. I potted this up. I was a little bit wary. I left it in the cup for a lot longer than I normally would have, just because that one there didn't take. But this Deanna is obviously doing much better. And on to the very last cutting that didn't take. And as you can see, there's not many. Most of them went, and they took off, and they did really well. But this is the last one, and this one is a Flanders. Now this one, you can see it's got roots coming out of the bottom, if you can see that at all. It had put on a leaf. You can see that little shriveled thing just this week, and it's got a little tiny bit of a green bud there. But for whatever reason, after it put on that leaf, and even though it's got some roots, that leaf actually died. And there's a fair number of roots. I don't want to tip it too much because the soil will start to come out, and I'm not sure if that's getting captured anyway. But there's a large root coming out here, there's a smaller root here. But I actually think that this cutting, even though it took and it seemed to be doing fine, I think it is fine. So that's Flanders. And just like the Deanna, this was a second Flanders cutting that I took at the same time, and you can see that this cutting is doing exceptionally well. So same age, same cellar, same treatment, same everything, same tent. This Flanders here is obviously doing much better than the one I just showed you. So they're my cuttings that haven't taken. I've got a few cuttings that are potentially not going to take. I think I've moved the last one inside. One that's just a little bit slow. What have I got down here? Oh no, I've got one more that hasn't done anything. Last one. This is another one that's in its original cup. This is a Zidi. And this is starting to shrivel in the stem. It hasn't fully gone yet. There's no roots. This has been in here now for probably, I don't know, 3 months. When did I do those first videos? I don't know. So Zidi is looking like it's going to fail, but just like the other ones, I have a Zidi taken at the same time, same cellar, same method, and this Zidi is clearly doing really well. And so it goes to show that sometimes it's worthwhile getting multiple cuttings, because, and look at the size of the leaf on this. This is massive for a cutting. This is by far the largest leaves I've got on a cutting so far this year, and this Zidi is taken off. So it's worthwhile sometimes getting 2 of each cuttings, but for whatever reason one doesn't work, you've got that backup. The only one that I lost that I didn't have a backup of was unfortunately the Black Madeira. The Black Madeira was one of my most coveted, wanted, desired, loved plants, and it's gone. I've since bought a couple more Black Madeira cuttings, which have only just gone in the ground recently. I don't know where they are. This one here, actually. This is a new Black Madeira. This has only been in a pot now for a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. I didn't record when I put it in there, but this is a Black Madeira, and I have a secondary Black Madeira somewhere. This is not Black Madeira. No, that's not Black Madeira, but I've got a second one somewhere floating around, and I do hope that that takes. Out of the ones that I really, obviously, as well as the Black Madeira, I don't want to die, is this one here. This is that really expensive Border Sot Negra Ramada. This is a $200 cutting, and I bought another one of the same price, actually, and it's this one here. This is the Martinica Ramada. This one has maybe just started swelling at the buds as well, so for a $200 cutting, we've got to keep our fingers crossed quite tightly, because I really don't want them to fail on me. That would be horrible. Of the cuttings that did take and transferred without any issue, this here is Desert King, and it's looking a little bit measly. The leaves are looking a bit unhappy, especially these top leaves here, these top buds here. This little stem down the bottom here seems to be a little bit healthier. Can't see any sign of roots coming out of the bottom of this pot at the moment, but I do have my eye on this Desert King. It's not doing wonders. It's not making me exceptionally pleased with the way it's going. This one here, this is a blackish shear. It's also looking just a little bit measly, but this is one of those ones that was infected with the spider mites. So maybe that's kind of taking into consideration that the mites might have set it back a little bit. We do have another one here that didn't fail, that's succeeding at the moment. This is the Della Signora Vardika, or one of the two cuttings that I've got. You can see this is quite vigorous, it's doing really, really well. And this cutting, all of the ones that I'm showing you right now, went into the ground, into these pots at essentially the same time. So you can see the difference in kind of vigor and robustness. So for instance, between this Desert King and this Vardika, you can see there's quite a big difference in these cuttings, even though they're both obviously taken. This one's doing well, this one's having a bit of a hard time in life. And that's all that I'm going to show you today. I mean, I could run through the entire collection of cuttings that I've taken that are doing in various stages, but I think we'll be here all day. And I might save that for another video. This is another Della Signora, by the way, that I just picked up. So we'll go through them all one day and show you how they're all going. But for today, the ones that failed. So maybe 20 cuttings, I don't know how many I took, and we had 4 or 5 that have not actually taken. Anyway guys, that's the end of this video for today. I'll let you go. It's quite hot in this tent, I'm sweating a bit. 28.3 degrees, 58% humidity in here today. And yeah, I guess I'll see you all in the next one. Catch you later.